complicated. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
And shalom to each and every one of you. So glad to have you with us today. This is yours truly, Apostle V.W. Jones Sr. And we're right here on what is known as the Proceeding Word. Listen, we're here every single solitary Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I promise you we're here. The first thing you need to realize is that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're here to share with you what we've understood from Devarim chapter 8, verses 36. And that is that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. That is how man lives. Well, first thing we want to make sure you do is realize that we want you, if you're coming in on Clubhouse, to go ahead and feel free to hit the share if you want to share this, or if in fact you're capable on YouTube or Facebook to put a drop in the thread. If you're on the YouTube channel, would you please make it your business to subscribe to the page and hit the bell that notifies you when we go live on this page. If you're on our Facebook stream, please drop a comment in our thread. More importantly, like the actual page, VWJ Ministries, and then like this particular program. I need to see our likes get up more, if y'all don't mind. I don't think we're doing it right. They're telling me, and I don't know, so I'm telling y'all what they tell me I need to do, but I can't do it without y'all. So would you go ahead and like the page on Facebook, and then like the actual session you're in, the actual broadcast you're in. Each broadcast you have to like. So like the broadcast, and also what helps us to have them consider us for some sense of monetization, so we can help carry this further, not for personal gain, only for the purpose of our ministry, DKM, and this process of VWJ Ministries carry further, is for you to go and be a part of making a comment in our thread, and it pushes us forward, and it does something to Facebook's algorithm. It's not my job. That's IT's people's job. My job is to teach the gospel. We got IT people for that. You got me for the gospel. Let me do what I do. But if you like it, help me share what we do to others that you might think would be as appealed to this, and this as appealing and intriguing to them as it is to you. All right. And you can do that with no coming out of your pocket for any kind of money. Just type a comment, hit the thread. Let's keep it moving and keep it going. Remember, we're here right before we're entering into our Sabbath. Again, just to give you some announcements, Proceeding Word is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Wednesday nights are our Bible study nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And last night we had a dynamic time. Most of y'all didn't realize how dynamic last night's Bible book club was. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I learned something last night that many of y'all did not pick up. Not many of y'all didn't pick up. We don't pay attention to. So I want to make sure we get a chance to talk about that too. But also, we're in Sabbath. We're Sabbath keepers. So today is Friday. At sundown, wherever you are in the world, at sundown in the Friday of your Gregorian calendar begins the Sabbath. We are Sabbath keepers. So Friday at sundown till Saturday at sundown is the Sabbath keep. And then after that, we come into another programming here for you guys every Sunday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Darash Kingdom Ministries. And that is the morrow after Sabbath service. If you're on Clubhouse, what you would need to do and have to do is actually go into the rooms on Clubhouse, the houses on Clubhouse. There's a house called DKM. There is a house called Bible Book Club. And there is a house called the Proceeding Word. You can go there and ask to enter in, and we'll gladly bring you in and give you access to all that we do there in that time. All right. But today we're going to talk about something I think is very interesting. And before we go further, this that we do here on this broadcast, on this program, is never, ever, never, ever, ever for likes. It's never, ever, ever for money. It's never, ever, ever for control of your life. This is for kingdom life. We want to introduce you to his kingdom, not ours. Elohim's kingdom, and that's what we do. So keep your mind, keep your head, and keep your heart. Those who are entering into Sabbath, remember how to Shabbat. Go and pick up those items and learn about it as best you can. All right. And this is what we do. So when we come on tonight, we'll talk about how to keep Sabbath. But today's program, the proceeding word, we're going to be talking about kingdom responsibility is obedience to the king's edict. Flat out. As Willie B. Jr. used to say, he'd say flat out. So kingdom responsibility is literally obedience to the king's writ or the king's edict. Another thing about kingdom responsibility is that when you're operating in the responsibility of citizenship, that citizenship requires obedience to Elohim's edict for the greater good of the community. He is not concerned, and the citizen should not be concerned for the opinions of those wanting to be in Elohim's kingdom their way. Whew. That's pretty deep, pretty extensive. And the thing we want to help to reveal today is that within much of our religion, we call it, and our faith, we call it, we find ourselves wanting God, but wanting God our own way. Wanting to have affiliations with groups, but wanting it our way. Needing and desiring assistance and resources from entities and elements, but then in that process, only ever not really wanting to conform, but we want to bring about conflict. And I dare say conflict. Let me say it this way. We don't want the programming. We don't want to program. We don't want to conform to the program. We want the program to conform to the way we want it done. So what I recommend to a lot of people who go to churches and they come back to me and talk about the pastor, they do like I did, leave one faith and go to another faith, then come back into this faith. And the reason you left because that entity you entered into said you couldn't do it your way. And then they told you, here are what the edicts are. Here are the ways we do things. And you're like, well, I don't think it should be that way. Well, you're giving me your opinion. But the edict that we run by that has this kingdom appealing to you is right here on these tables, this tablet, this vision, this mission, this state and edict and writ of the king. And this is what we comply with. Well, I don't think it should be that way. Well, then you don't need to be in this kingdom. You should be over there where they do that at. Because that's what they do over there, which is why you came over here. Because what they do over there, we don't do over here. But you just being a control freak. No, we're just being responsible to the controls of the kingdom. So if you don't want to live in America, then you go to another country. Or if you're from another country and you come to live in America and you want to become a citizen, you have to obey the Constitution. Or if you go to another country from here, you have to now forsake our Constitution to go and live in another country, but you must comply with their edict and governance on how they operate in that kingdom, in that nation, in that state, in that union. And you can't come into that union doing things your own way because, well, what I used to do when I was in America, and I'm over here in this kingdom, I'm over here in this station, I'm over here in this nation, I want to do what I did over there. No, you might not be able to do that. Now, there may be some leniency so you can keep your culture, but at the end of the day, the culture of this kingdom requires X. You don't want to do that, then you need to go back to where you came from. But you left there because what they was doing over there was oppressive and not good for you, not healthy and not strengthening to you. At least you felt that way. But you can't come into a different place doing what you want to do when they have a set edict, writ, governance for how they operate. And that you saw from a distance was appealing to you. But it's strange how once you come to the thing that appealed to you, and then you want to change it. That's not kingdom. That's not how that community operates. And after a while, then before you join that community, you need to at least understand how that community flows before you make a life-changing decision and say you want to be committed and joined up to it. Y'all know what I just did? I told you about everything you have in Christendom. You just jumping around from church to church and ministry to ministry, whether it's online or in a brick and mortar, and thinking that you can change them because you have an idea of what this that you had seen attractively should look like. And though it's been existing long before you, long before what you want, long before you even knew about them. And you said, hey, this is cool. I'm going to drop in. And it seems like they're friendly and we can do certain things and we can talk certain ways. And we are learning. Oh my God, how we're learning. And so now with the learning process, we're saying to ourselves, what do we do next? Well, I think we should do this. Well, the system doesn't need you to change it. Well, I think that the system should pay attention to this. No, the system was designed to literally do what it does. Now, you might find that it's in a little bit slower than you want to be moving, but it's the best way to move for the greater good of the community that you're in. So people jumping forth, back and forth between church, they leave the church and then they come to a church and they talk about the leadership there because now they're trying to tell you that, oh, well, you know, they do this and oh, they do that. Let me tell you something. Everybody is imperfect. What? Yeah, everybody is imperfect. Nobody is perfect. Messiah was. However, we strive based on his ensample of perfection so that we can press towards that mark. Because as long as we're still in the earthen realm, we're pressing towards that mark of perfection. Here's how I know none of you are perfect that are listening to my voice and looking at this broadcast and going to eat at your dinner for lunch or have dinner or go into Sabbath. Here's how I know none of you are perfect. Because the moment you become perfect, Elohim takes you off the planet. When a flower finally comes and blooms and blossoms, when the fruit is proper and ready to be plucked, you take it off the vine. It's called harvest. So when the harvest is ripe, perfect, then the consumer takes it. He doesn't leave the perfect fruit on the ground so that it can spoil. He uses it. He takes it. So you and I are still growing, ripening, not ripe yet, not right yet. You're still learning because the things you think you know, you'll find out as you keep living a little longer, you really didn't know, nor did you know how to handle it, nor did you know how to not let it make you move out of emotional drama and anxieties you yourself have about being perfect. So today I wanted to share something with you about what it looks like inside the kingdom. And again, I want to make sure you understand the conversation today is that kingdom responsibility is about obedience. There is a terrible narrative that is really going around the land, and now people are learning. One thing I like about learning ministries such as ours is we teach you to think outside the box you were forced into unaware. And it's not that that box does not possess the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb gives you a guide as to how things usually have the capacity to go. And if you travel along the rule of thumb, then you'll be in a path that's been traveled, relatively safe. But it does not mean that you are relegated to just that path. You're not to be held captive to that path. And so at the time you have been following the rule of thumb, you would in fact learn that I can go this way, but hey, if I have an appropriate expertise, I can also go over here a little bit and expand my horizons and expand my borders and expand my perimeter. But I'm using the rule of thumb to guide or to gauge whether this is an acceptable and safe way of doing it. But many people have used the rule of thumb, whatever you've been educated on, and allow that to be your kingdom come. And the rule of thumb is basically just a pathway to follow. So now you have people going to school, higher learning, going to church, particular discipline and doctrine, and not realizing that's the rule of thumb, but you've made it the rule of some. And that's not a good connotation. Because it's interesting when I think about the rule of thumb and we talk about putting your thumb on someone. And if you don't pay attention to the rule of thumb and use it as a guide rather than the goal, then you find out that it becomes the rule of some who are ignorant, not understanding the tool that they were given as a guide. Now, that's pretty deep and you might not appreciate that, but I think you'll get that if a couple of days hits you later on and you rethink this or go back to it. But the kingdom has suffered so much violence because people have come into what Elohim built and then decided that they wanted to do it their way. So when you come into a place like something Elohim builds and you start learning new things, being taught new things, you find out that there's a way to get definitions and origins and what are those things called? Yeah, I know a lot. Sure you do. The etymology on things. You get the origin of things. And now you realize, oh, snap, I didn't know that. And you start to learn how to use that. And then we have this thing where we default back to the things we used to be before we started getting comfortable in the place that we presently are. Then you become comfortable in the place you presently are, and you start to breed contempt for the place that you are because you think that you're equal to the teachers in that place that you are. And then you find yourself claiming that the teachers are trying to hold you back, which would in turn be described by many as trying to control you. When the fact is, because you're in that arena that teacher is responsible for, they have a responsibility to their employer, their giver of purpose, to make sure you are operating in his edict. And though you're looking at his edict and even reading his edict, does not mean it's translating for you into manifestation in your physical of that edict. So the teacher's job is to familiarize you. The pastor's job is to orientate you. The prophet's job is to remind you. The evangelist's job is to keep you in a vein where you can see what else is possible. And then the apostle's job is to massage all of that into you. And somehow people think that that's controlling you. And then we espouse words like control freaks. Control and being responsible for what you are responsible for are two different things. You know, the reality of this is that when you think about control, control is something that sort of kind of gives power. But it's the kind of power when you're controlling people that can be taken away from you. And when it's a controlling authority, it is one that leaves you feeling anxious, leaves you feeling unsafe. But responsibility, when people who are in your life being responsible for the edict of the kingdom, responsible for the vision, mission, and the actual standards of operation for the organization, they're not controlling you, but they are controlling the environment because this environment exists based on these principles. So people can oftentimes confuse the agent or the messenger of the edict as one trying to control you, when in fact, they're letting you know, here are the control mechanisms for this organization, for this atmosphere you say you enjoy being a part of. If we change that, then that you became attracted to here also changes, and it's never going to be for the good. But if we stay on vein with this, understand the layers of this, make sure we see all the caveats of this before you just think because you learned something new for the first time in your life that you got it, then you could actually hurt yourself. But if you stay to this, here is the construct. So that person pointing you to the construct is now considered a control freak when they themselves are subject to that same construct, that same edict, that same writ. And that's what Messiah did. So people today, if they ever got chance to understand how we mess up so much with making allegations of people trying to manipulate you or control you, you would look at Messiah and you would call Messiah a control freak. Let me show you what I mean by that. Are y'all all right? Are y'all learning anything today? I just want to make sure y'all get this, because people are oftentimes putting themselves in a position where they speak without thinking, and sometimes you need to be quiet. Now, people will say, "Oh, you're trying to control people." No, you need to think about what you're saying so you don't come off in a bad light. Anybody who believes in what you are a part of is going to always make sure that what we do here is done responsibly. And if we do something, we have the right to sort of kind of be wild with it and free with it. But if it's going to be seen by others without of us, we need to make sure before we let it go out that door that we have put it in proper context. This way, the content won't be taken and have any ambiguity as to what it's intended for. But sometimes when you do that with people, they think you're trying to control them, not let them shine, not let them get it out there, not let them be the teacher, not let them be the leader. It's not it. We can't lead if we're not going to be responsible to the standards of operation. And it doesn't mean that that particular person leading hasn't erred in those responsibilities as well. But the fact that we are learning how to keep those instructions at the forefront of everything we do, that's called being responsible, not being a control freak. So when you understand Messiah, if you put him in the modern day church today, people would call him a control freak. Let me show you what I mean. Watch. Look at me and go with me to Matthew chapter number 5. And you've heard me say this oftentimes, but I want to read it to you today. I don't want to just quote it to you. Matthew chapter 5. We'll start at verse number, I don't know. Let's go to verse 17, I think. Look at what he says here. He says, in fact, let me just read this a little bit. When you come into the kingdom of Elohim, you are coming into his kingdom and you're leaving the kingdom of the world. When you leave one kingdom to go into another kingdom, you have to comply with the edict, the construct, the standards of operation in that new kingdom. Now, if you didn't learn them before you adopted or asked to be a citizen there, that's not that kingdom's fault. Though if you let them know I was unaware of that rule, I was unaware of that way, that kingdom will sit you down and share with you, here is the edict, here is the construct, here is what gave the foundation for the thing you saw when you were not a part of us appealing. And you can't come back in, or you can't come in here trying to peel that away from our walls or away from our foundation. And then when we stop you from trying to peel that, because you might not have known it, or maybe you do know it and think it should change because you here. That's not us being controlling. That's us being preserving and responsible to maintain what you were attracted to when you came in here. And now that you're in here, if you don't like it, you can't peel it back, but you can walk back out. and leave all the despairing comments and remarks about this place at the door and try not to carry them elsewhere. Does that make sense, Zion? No comment? Let me share with you now what happens. Is my microphone on? I don't think I hear anybody. Are y'all out there? Can I get a mic check? Mic check. 1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2. You're here.
Hey. Shabbat shalom. So I want y'all to look at this. Look at what Messiah did. We really got to be careful, because if we had Messiah in this day and time, we would probably call him a control freak. Look at what he did. Verse number 1. I want to be very clear with this. Verse number 1. Matt, Bible's on the screen for those of you viewing. Look at what happens here. And seeing the multitude, Messiah went up into a mountain, and as he set his disciples, they came with him. Verse 2, he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So if he indicts the kingdom of heaven, it means that there is another type of kingdom also available. But he wants to speak specifically about the kingdom of heaven, right? Now we can do all the Beatitudes, but I want to get down here into verse number 13. Okay. Let's go to verse number 12. We'll do verse 11. We'll do the last Beatitude on verse 11, right? Blessed are you when men shall revile you and persecute you, in the kingdom anyway, and they shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, because you know me and hang out with me. Right? Verse 12, rejoice, be strengthened by that, and be exceedingly glad. For great is your reward in heaven, the kingdom of heaven, right? That's a different place than where they are. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you, right? The prophets are the ones who would remind you of the edict, of the standards of operations, of the commandments, of the mitzvah. The prophets remind you of the edict of the king so that you can live in the kingdom and not be in jeopardy. Verse 13, you who do this, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It thence forth is good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men. Verse 14, you are the light of the world. You are a city that is set on a hill and cannot be hid. That's what kingdom life does for you. Verse 15, neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but they put it on a candlestick, and it gives light unto all them that are in the house. Verse 16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify Yahweh, which is in heaven. Verse 17, look at this. This is why we would look at him weird. He says, think not that I am come to destroy the Torah. Some might say the standards of operations. I just need one person to say it. It'll help my heart.
The standards of operation.
So the Torah, verse 17, think not I come to destroy the Torah, the law, the standards of operations, the edict, the governance. Nor did I come to destroy the prophets that would remind you of the Torah, of the law, of the standards of operation, of the edict. I am not come to destroy any of that. I come to fulfill it. That term fulfill means I come to show you how to live it. So in the Greek, the word fulfill is G4137, and it's the word plerou. Okay? Make it replete, to cram it in, to level it up, to hallow it out, to furnish it, to endue it, to influence it, to satisfy, to execute it. I came to fulfill it. I came to make it perfect. and clear. So verily I say unto you, until heaven and earth pass, listen to this, not one jot nor one tittle of the edict of the Torah, of the standards of operation, shall pass away from that book of the law until all of it is executed. Therefore, verse 19, whoever shall break one of these least commandments in the standards of operation, in the Torah, in the edict of the king, if that person shall break one of these and shall then teach other men to do this, they will be considered and called the least in the kingdom of heaven, because you're not operating by the edict of the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do these commandments, even the least of them, and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you that except your righteousness, Mr. and Mrs., person that goes to the temple, Mr. and Mrs. person that goes to the church, Mr. and Mrs. person who does their religious observations, except your righteous actions based on these instructions exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, who say, do as I say, not as I do, then you will in no case even enter into the kingdom of heaven. Now, don't that sound like, in modern day terms, like he trying to control people? It don't sound like he trying to control something. I really believe if we were in this environment and he was in this environment today, we'd be like, who you trying to control? You trying to tell me I can't come in? Well, if you disobey, you break one of the least of these commandments, which is the edict for the kingdom you say you want to come into. If you're not going to obey them and you're not going to exceed the righteousness of the scribes who say, do as I say, not as I do, because I'm going to tell you this book of instruction, because that's the king who sent me to give you this information. He tells me to tell y'all that, but I ain't going to do it. But I'm going to tell y'all that, and then I'm going to tell on y'all if y'all don't do that. But you do as I say, not as I do, because I'm grown and I'm hired to do this. I'm anointment at it. I got the anointment to do this, right? So if you and I are going to look at this way, it would be that Messiah would appear to be controlling. Because look at what he says from verses 16 down. It's extremely important. He wasn't kidding, but what he said was real. If we did that today with this generation of skin so soft people today, he says, listen, think not that I come to destroy the law nor the prophets. I come not to destroy it, but to show y'all how to live it. Until heaven and earth pass away, not one jot of this word will pass away until all of this word be fulfilled. Verse 19, whoever therefore breaks one of these commandments, even the least of them. And if you start to teach people to break that commandment, you're going to be called the least in the kingdom. But whoever shall do them and then teach them, that same shall be called great in the kingdom. So except your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you're going to be in no case entering into the kingdom. You can't tell me to leave. You can't tell me when I can come. Well, you can't enter in if you can't exceed the righteousness of them who say, do as I say, but not as I do, and don't do what the writ requires be done. So in today's times, we will be looking at this person as if they was a control freak. Oh, they just trying to control people. They trying to just tell people what to do and how to do it and all these different things. So I need you all to understand that if you're going to be in the kingdom of Elohim, the kingdom of Elohim is not like your church organization. Now, your church organization says its model is after the kingdom, but they're different. They don't operate like kingdom. The responsibility for a kingdom of Elohim citizen, one who claims salvation, is to be, the responsibility is to be obedient to his word. And then he tells you to be obedient to them who are teaching you my word. Now, some of us have taken that and gone way too far, like certain church constructs, Catholic Church, who taught, no disrespect, just the fact that God sits up high and he's got an iron rod in his hand and he looks down over you peons on the earth. And when he sees you do wrong, he clunks you on your head and tells you to get right, go to confessional, give a certain amount of money. And then I'll think about, redeeming you. Go and confess your sins to the whole church and let everybody know what you did. All of this foolishness we do, that's not how it works. That's controlling. So when control or teaching is done responsibly, it is to say, look, here is what we're supposed to do. I'm not making it up on the fly. It's in the same edict that's been up for thousands of years. We didn't change anything in the Bible. So when people come into, let's just say, VWJ Ministries or Daraj Kingdom Ministries, they will come on and view us online and they'll see this. The reason you see this on your screen, that which you can't see, is, for those of you on Clubhouse, I have the Bible up because I don't want you to think that I got a book out. This is what the Bible says we are to do. You have this very same writing. You bought it off of Amazon. You bought it from your Christian bookstore. You bought it from your church's bookstore. Wherever you bought it from, everything that I just put on this screen is in a book you bought multiple times. You got one on your dash on your car. You got one in your bedstand, your nightstand. You got one on the table, the coffee table in the front room. You got one in the car. You got one in your purse. You got one in your man bag. You got one in your satchel. You got one at your office. So all these Bibles you have these exact same words in them. And those Bibles can be vetted, but I'm not selling you a book that I wrote. We're teaching you the edicts of his kingdom. And so when people say, well, I don't think I have to do it that way, you may not think you have to do it that way, which is why Yahweh put this clause in his word through a prophet who reminded you of it. Jeremiah. He said, my thoughts, Elohim, are not like your thoughts. Your ways are not like my ways. As a matter of fact, the way you see my writings and interpret my writings and discern my writings without sitting with me to talk about my writings, this is Elohim, not the preacher, not Apostle Jones, not your favorite pastor. Or he's talking about you sitting with him in Shabbat, you sitting with him in meditation, you sitting with him and pondering his word. Except you are doing that, you don't understand my words. So when I send someone to you, because you say, I want to learn. Because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, the teacher don't know when to appear, but Elohim knows when to put a teacher in your path because you said in a broken down moment, in a moment where you're requiring information, you're finally at your wit's end and saying, okay, Elohim, I surrender. I want to learn you better and greater and more than I learned it religiously. And then Elohim will cross your path with a teacher. You run into that teacher, y'all hit it off and click it off. And that teacher starts to help you see some things, unearth some things, gird some things about you. I never saw that. I never understood that. And then that teacher's job is to say, here's how you always look at the Bible. Look the same way I do it. Come on with me. I got some issues. Come help me search my issues out in the Bible. And then you start learning that. The problem is when you think that you now are at the same level as that teacher of this construct, you think the teacher controls the construct. And the teacher doesn't. The construct controls the teacher. So now, because you think you wrestle against flesh and blood, when the teacher of the construct, within the guise of the construct, tells you, hey, you can't do it that way. Hey, you can't put that pot on the stove with no water or some type of liquid in it. It'll burn the pot. I can put it on there. I'm going to put something in there in a few minutes. Yeah, but even if you take just 3 minutes, on that flame with nothing in it, though you intend to put something in it, you're going to mess up the dexterity of that pan. And then those coming behind will have to go buy another pan. Who are you trying to control? I got this. I ain't going to burn the house down. I can cook. My grandmama and them taught me how to cook. My daddy taught me how to cook. All right, but dear heart, this construct here does it this way. See the menu, see the recipe, see the instructions. It says put it in the pot first, then put the pot on the flame. You don't put the pot on the flame because you feel you cutting time and you got enough time to go to the refrigerator or to the cabinet and get what you want to pour in it. The instructions say put it in the pot first, then put the pot on the fire. It don't matter. It don't take all that. It don't take all that. You just trying to control me. Okay. I can do this my way. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Well, you know what? We've been over here for a minute. You just came in and said you love the smells that were coming out of this place. You love the light that was gleaming from this place. But now you want to come in and put up smoke signals in this house? No. That's what you're going to do. You're about to burn that pot, and you're going to send not a great aroma out of here, but an aroma that is signatured by your scent and your disobedience and your desire not to follow instructions. You just trying to control me. It don't take all that. Who said I'm going to burn the pot? I'm telling you, the best way to make sure you don't burn the pot as a teacher of this construct, under the guise of this construct, is to follow these instructions right here. Go pull up any one of your Bibles and you'll be able to get any Bible you got. Pull the one out your purse, pull the one off your phone, pull the one off your tablet, pull the one off your iPad, pull the one out your back seat, pull the one in your office. Look at it. It's all the same thing. This is not my book. I didn't send this book to you. I didn't ask you to pay $49.50. I didn't ask you to pay $79.82. I told you this book you and I own before we met each other already has it inside of it, but you didn't pay attention to it. But when you told Elohim in your personal time a few months ago that I want to learn you better, he put a teacher in front of you. But now you're not going to follow the professor and the instructions of those who are following the construct. And you're going to do it your way. That means you got to be expelled from here. You put me out? No, but you're going to be considered the least in the kingdom. Who you telling you don't know how to value me? No, I value you greatly. I value you enough to have a conversation with you about how you're doing the things that are common practice and have a standards of operation. You just a control freak. Really? Because I pointed you to the book that you said you wanted to be a part of? That's all Messiah did. They would see him today as a control freak. So I hope you guys understand that there's a responsibility if you want to live in the kingdom. There's a responsibility if you want to live in my house. My son, my daughter, anybody who wants to visit me, there's a responsibility. Hey, we come through the door this way. When we come through the door, we pull the door shut and we lock it. Don't leave my door open. Don't leave my door unlocked. Don't go into my refrigerator and then not shut the refrigerator door and leave everything in there susceptible to being spoiled. Don't open up a bag of anything and leave it unsealed back on the countertop. Because I hate roaches. I hate ants. If I see one ant, if I see one roach from the projects I came from, no matter how clean my mother was, no matter how clean and sanitary she made all of her children, we could not control who our neighbors were. And if you lived in a shared roof line, if they had roaches over there, no matter how clean you may have been here, a roach over there could travel over here, and then you can have a roach. So if I see roaches, if I see ants, if I see pests, I'm going to kill. I turn into Al Capone. If I see one roach, everybody got to die. If I see one ant, his aunt got to die, his uncle got to die, his grandma got to die, his sister got to die, his mama, every roach, they all got to die. I can't give them a leg, because if you see one roach, there's 500 in the wall. If you see one ant, there's a colony at your feet. And just because they don't pop up all the time don't mean they're not there, and they are building and multiplying. So I got to search them jokers out. So the best way to make sure in my space, under these rules of this construct, is that you do as we say do if you want to live in this house. Don't give an ant a reason to think they can come over here. So seal up every bag, wipe every crumb, put it in the trash container, or put it in the sink and wash it down with water. That's the rules of our house. You can't live by them. You got to go. Now, that sounds controlling. No, it's responsible. And when you're being a responsible entity, then you are where the buck stops. And if the buck stops with you, you are responsible for what gets emitted from your space. You are responsible for what goes out of your place. And if your children, shoot, your spouse, your mom who comes to visit, your uncle who you love, and if you constantly keep teaching them, hey, when you're over here, we do it this way. We wash our dish off, we rinse it, and then we put it in the dishwasher. Yeah, we don't leave them in the sink like that. Yeah, just nasty. We don't like to do it. And it leaves too much for roaches and ants to think they can come in. We don't want that, because if I see a roach, I go ballistic. Everybody got to die. There's going to be a raid somewhere. I'm going to be raising a black flag somewhere. That was funny. Y'all not going to, you know what? Because y'all wasn't raised in the hood. Y'all wasn't raised in the projects where you didn't control your neighbors. And if they was nasty, no matter how clean you were, you could bleach Mr. Clean, Fabuloso all day long. Clorox, everything. On any given day, if they got too many roaches, they're going to find a place to come over. If it's clean, they're going to try to set up camp. And though you're clean, you don't have a reason for them to be there. After a while, they just start migrating and gravitating. So you got to find a way to put up a border and kill it all off. So for me, it's like if I see one, I'm calling a raid. We raiding that spot. I saw it. We're going to find what else is there. Who trying to dig and make a house. And we're going to dig it up because I can't have it. It means you're trifling. It means you're nasty. It means you can carry disease. And the worst thing in a kingdom is to bring disease into a kingdom. If y'all haven't learned anything from pandemics and epidemics, all it takes is one. So when you say that, oh, y'all being controlling or you being this, you then start throwing out other epithets. You start throwing out other phrases that have been intellectually connected to an irresponsible understanding of responsibility. And then you inflate an understanding in your mind of control. And the next thing you know, words like narcissist or words like control freak are put out there. But remember, when you are in the kingdom of Elohim, your responsibility is not to change the place that you're in. Your job in the kingdom of Elohim is to demonstrate it. If you are not doing a good demonstration of it, the teachers, if they're doing their job, show you, not by micromanaging, but by your deeds, by your presentation of the information of this kingdom. If it's inaccurate, they have a responsibility, not a control freak fetish, to say, hey, I know where you got that from, but here is the other part for that, because now you're carrying the word, but I want to make sure you carry it right. Because if you don't, if you leave that out there the way you just did, and somebody antagonizing against this kingdom, somebody trying to destroy or atheistic towards whatever it is, or not a fan of what we do, looking for any inroad they can to bring something insidious into this environment, spray a virus through the gates, they will be able to do that and bring division. Coming in, driving, pulling, leading, silly women laden with sin, silly men laden with sin out. So to make sure you don't have those issues, do it by the SOP, do it by the mitzvah, do it by the edict, do it by the actual instructions and the writ the king of the kingdom wrote. Now, just because there are workers working on behalf of the king doesn't mean the workers working on behalf of the king are controlling you. They are being responsible for what their job is. Here is what it says. That's what you did. Here is what it says you should do. I told you the pot wasn't going to burn. Just because I put it on the fire first, don't mean it was going to burn. Well, the king, the creator of all life, like you, he said it should be done in this order succinctly. There's a system to it. You're doing too much. It don't take all that. Just because I don't do it your way. No, you're not doing it my way. I do it this way. So it's his way. That's why we call him Yahweh. This is his kingdom, not mine. You're here. My job is to make you just like me, if that's what you want to be, because we're all here together. We're a commonwealth. There's no big I's and little U's in this place. So when he puts dishes that he anoints to serve other dishes coming in that he appoints, this is what we have to do to make sure we understand his idea. And what you're doing isn't in here. Just read it. Look, I'm not trying to be funny. Look, just read it. See it right here. I don't care. I can do it. All right. He ain't going to be pleased. I'm going to do what I want to do. You can. That's not going to bode well for you to stay in this kingdom, though. That citizenship, you'll be considered, again, the least in the kingdom. So I just wanted to make sure y'all understand. Does that make sense to you all? Are y'all following this?
Yes, sir. Makes sense.
Perfect sense.
So now you do run across people who are completely 100% trying to make their own construct or duplicate a construct that mimics Elohim's construct because they want to have the authority Elohim has. You know, there was a guy by the name of Satan. His name was Lucifer. Remember him? He wanted, in the kingdom he was a cherubim, to be the leader. And he wanted to usurp Elohim off of his throne. And, well, you know, that ain't gonna happen. But Elohim wasn't controlling. He just told him, here is your responsible. Here's your responsibility. You do this. You just bring me my music every morning. Make sure the choirs are where they need to be so I can get my glory. That's your job. That's what you do. That's why I made you. That's Elohim. Now, this made entity decides it's going to steal the glory it was made to give to Elohim for itself. So it made its own idea, did it its own way. Well, what happened to that? Well, he got kicked out that kingdom. I mean, we don't think about these things until it's too late. Now, I got to be very careful because when we carry this type of a narrative back out into the streets and you leave our broadcast, the proceeding word, and then you go back out and like, well, he said this and he said that. Let me be very, very clear. People can take any good thing and pervert it. So gathering behind four walls, brick and mortar, steel and wood, people can act like they're pleasing the Father. But if they're not using the edict to do it, and they keep giving you commentary after commentary, and this man said we can do it this way, and this woman came and said we can do it this way, and the other one said that they was in the spirit on the Lord's day, and they saw a vision, and God said do it this way. Y'all want to get into all of that garbage? This ain't the place for you to be. Because that's what they do over there. You got to go over there, and you cannot expect to introduce that here when this has been standing solidly on just obeying the writ, simply not trying to redress it, not trying to reshape it, not trying to reform it, not trying to put it on a diet. It's already everything perfect. It is all things pertinent to his kingdom. That's all we want. Now, if you get upset because we told you not to put the pot on the fire without putting the substance in the pot first, You don't want the kingdom. You want things done your way. And when those responsible as doorkeepers remind you, just nicely remind you that this is what must be done, this is the way it's accomplished, and you get upset with that and you move on, that's cool. Move on. We all must choose this day who we will serve. Well, if you talk about serving, then it's an instant and accurate indictment that serving means you have to follow someone's instructions. So you're either following the instructions of the Torah, like Yeshua is telling us about, or you're following the instructions that's not the kingdom of heaven, which you can find loose translations from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that Adam took, which got us in this mess. When Yeshua came, he came to reset that mess, and this is the only way out of the product that the knowledge of good and evil in an ignorant man's mind created. Now, when you're not at work, you might need to go back and rewind this lesson, because I dropped many nuggets here that transcend many areas of your life. Whether you are a teacher or you're one being taught, the way you're perceiving how you're being taught, where you're perceiving what you signed up for and didn't pay attention that you must comply with them. You go to another school. You go to a school, you say, hey, I want to come to this school to learn this. You made that choice. Once you made that choice to come to that school and learn their way, you got to follow the school's guideline. They give you a handbook. You say, I want to be at this job. Very few jobs draft you. And if they draft you, they still leave you a choice whether you want to serve our standards of operation for our goal to humanity and our service to humanity. Well, yeah, we doing similar things aligned. I mean, your goals align with my line, align with me and my goals. So I think we can work together. Don't say you think we can work together and just accept the $500,000 salary until you read the 500-page handbook. Because now you got that $500,000 salary, but you only read the first 100 pages of that book, and you think you know it because, oh, yeah, we align. My spirit align with this. This sound right. It read right. But later on, there are some clauses. There are some chapters. There are some subsections you need to do rightly because they affect the first 100 pages and they affect the end result. And when someone comes to check you because you're about to destroy their construct, you think they charging you, or you think they got something against you, or you think they're trying to manipulate you, or you think they're trying to control you. No, they're being responsible for their construct that they were sold to. You said you wanted to be a part of. So in all your getting, get understanding to what your responsibilities will be as a kingdom citizen. And your responsibilities are no different than the teacher's responsibilities. The teacher's responsibilities are no different than the student's responsibilities. The issue is one's guiding the other is helping the other, and we're all working together as commonwealth of this information for the purpose of his kingdom operating in the earth, creating an atmosphere for salvation and unity. If you come into a system and you want to do it your way, that is division. Well, I think it's enhancement. You stupid. We just took it and did it better. So you're going to take what we just took it and we did it better. Let me slow down because y'all say I talk too fast. Well, we can do this way, and this is where we're going to do it. No, it says do it this way. It really does. It doesn't ask for change. Matter of fact, you know who wrote this? I know who wrote this. God wrote this. I said, well, what did God say? He said, I'm going to do a new thing in you, right? In you, not in here, in you. This getting in you changes the old you used to be to become what this is. Do you know who wrote this? Yes, I know God wrote it. Okay, well, what did he say? What you mean? Let me help you. I change not. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. I don't care what Elon Musk is doing. I don't care what the mega moguls are doing. I don't care what type of things they got in technology they're discovering I put on the planet. My word doesn't change. It controls the planet. Well, we can do it this way because they're doing this over there. I don't care what they're doing over there. I care about this right here because this told us they would be doing that over there. I think I'm gonna stick here. You want to hang out here? Two can't walk together except they be agreed. I don't hold you here. Matter of fact, we didn't advertise for you to come here. We didn't send out an email blast. You stumbled up on here because you smelt an aroma cooking in our kitchens and you wanted to learn that recipe. And then you came in and you sat in and you say, I want to learn how to cook it myself. Great, wonderful. Come on, let's go. Get into the kitchen. Here's the instructions and the recipe. We gave you the instructions and the recipe. I'm going to go upstairs and wash my hands. You go ahead and get started. And when I come back downstairs and I come back into the kitchen, when I come back into the lab, you got the pot on the stove with nothing in it and it is rattling. The pot is turning black. What are you doing? I got this. No, you're supposed to do it this way. There's a reason you do it this way. Not just to protect the dexterity of our construct from burning down, but to also protect the dexterity of the unit you're cooking in for people to use it after you. As well, it affects the consistency and the texture of the chemical you're going to put into it to produce a product we're all going to want to eat. There is more to this than you. What? Now you ain't gonna talk to me like that. You right. I repent for talking to you like that, but you heard what I said. I said what I said. Wasn't I standing on all 10 toes? Am I looking at you in your eyes? Have I deviated from this book? You did say you wanted to be in this place, right? Because this is what we live by. We don't do stuff all willy-nilly like that. You're a control freak. It don't even take all that. I could have did it that way. Okay. Now, for the record, I got to go buy a new pot. Thank you for your participation. Then you run out that house. Oh, they just control freaks over there. I was in there and I was trying to cook, and I know how to cook because my mom had taught me to cook. And let me tell you something, Sally and Jimmy and cousin uncle, don't go over there to that place. That ain't you don't want to go over there because you get in there and then they tell you they love you and talk to you and all that stuff, and then start teaching you stuff. You learn now. You do learn a lot of stuff, but you know what they all sedity about their pots, and they bougie and stuff, and always trying to tell you that it's got to be done this way. Well, I was a cook for a whole many years, decades before. I know how to cook. I knew what I was doing. I admit it wasn't what the instructions said. Well, didn't you sign up for the instructions? Yeah, I did, but I know how to cook. I wasn't gonna burn that house down. But is it possible you could have damaged the dexterity of the tools? Is it possible that the way you were doing it would not have been the recipe you fell in love with? You wouldn't have been producing that same recipe for others to fall in love the way you fell in love because you did it your way, and you wonder why your way they were not raving like you raved about the same meal you made that you were duplicating from the place you got it from. You don't see that? Just know I know how to cook. I would have doctored it up. I'd have put my foot in it, put my toenail in it, and left that sitting there with the pink polish on it. So it would have been good. I would have doctored it up. You need to know. So stop telling me. Me and God got a relationship. You know what? You should go sit down in the corner. That little section over there is called the least of the kingdom. The least in the kingdom. Go sit over there in that bench right there. You're still in the kingdom, but you're not ready to represent the kingdom because you think people are trying to control you and manipulate you. And all they're doing is showing you what the writ says. But you want to do it your way. Oh, the teacher ain't perfect, child. I know. He ain't perfect. She ain't perfect. I saw what they did. I heard what they did. I was there. I know. You ain't got that. And then that's where you make your mistake. Elohim is not a respecter of person. He just wants those who will obey his word. And if you're not obeying his word and somebody checks you on it, that's not them controlling you. That's them being responsible to the commitment both of you made to the Creator. Well, John, I hope you guys have understood a little bit of what we're sharing with you today. Does anybody find this enlightening? If you have a comment or a statement, I'm going to give you, we got 10 minutes. So we got 10 minutes to ask and have questions answered. But while you're thinking, if you have a question, come off the mic on Facebook, Clubhouse rather, and say your name. We'll give you that space. And before y'all think I'm on a rant, I'm dealing with this because I got so many pastors and leaders who are distraught at the fact that, man, I gave these people all I knew to give them. I made a mistake here, there, but I gave them everything, and they done left here talking about we trying to do this and control them and do that, and they just were giving you the reasonable service, but you wanted to do your way. And if you want to do your thing in this place, that is disunity. That is a dividing, that is a force, a second force in a place that requires oneness. You can't have multiple forces where there's supposed to be oneness. That's called divorce, division, two separate visions. And two cannot walk together except they have the same vision, except they are on one accord. And just because I tug you to bring you back on that vein doesn't mean we're trying to control you. Just because you tugged me to bring me back on that doesn't mean you're trying to control me. You're keeping me, I'm keeping you account in the same account that we operate from, so we can benefit from and pull from in our time of need. It's called accountability. It's called being responsible to the commitment we said we were going to literally comply with. But because you didn't get to do it your way, and somebody who's just a little bit more seasoned in this way tries to bring you to be as seasoned as they are in this way, it rubs you the wrong way. And though you might be claiming Yahweh, you're not doing it his way. Because you can't see past the person thinking that that's who you're wrestling with. Control may give you some sort of power, but it's a power that can easily be taken away. And it often tends to leave people anxious and unsaved. The people who cry controlling spirits are usually those who want to be in control. I found out that people who don't like you, or people you don't like, let me say that, people you find you don't like, you don't even know why you don't like them. The fact is, the truth is, low key, and I found it time and time again. I got plenty of case studies, plenty of sessions where after I helped them understand the thing that they did that you didn't like was something you tried to do and you didn't have success at. What you don't like about them is in you. And you can't get away with it the way that they do. And that's why you don't like them. That's why a con can call a con. That's why a spade can call a spade. That's why game, no game. So you looking at you and can't stand the fact that they do what you want to do better than you doing it. And nobody seems to be recognizing that that's game. And now you like, no, that's game. Y'all don't know that's game. I know it because that's game. Just know that that's game. They lying. That's a spirit of lying. I know it. How you know it? I'm intimate with. I mean to say I'm intimately involved with the activities that they is demonstrating and convincing y'all that it is innocency. And the truth is, you hate, don't like, because it's also in you. That's how you identify it. And instead of looking at it and not hating that person, but looking at it as if Elohim is throwing you a mirror to say for you, don't look like that. The potential's in you to be that. You don't do that. Now you see what that looks like outside of you. Now you know, and some others know, but the majority of the people that they're convincing, they might not know yet, but you know how that looks. And that's not how I want you to represent my kingdom. He didn't put that person with that trait of yours in front of you so you could hate that person. He did it so you can love you. But you can't see past the person. Forgetting, though you say you love God and you know him and you Christian and you got faith in the spirit, you forgot very clearly what Elohim said. He doesn't show you things to hate on your brother. You're not wrestling against flesh and blood. You don't think like me. This is what Elohim is saying. We don't think like him. So you guys be very conscious and very leery when people come to you. And I always am, especially when I'm dealing with people who are coming from another ministry or coming from another company to one of the companies that I help manage. It's like, okay, why'd you leave that? I want to know, why'd you leave that company? You know, it's not being nosy. It's just that I need to know what I'm dealing with. And your resume on paper says you've done the things that we do here, but why are you not still there? Oh, just a money thing. Okay, that'll play out. Okay, well, we can pay you more. I get it. You're further down the totem pole, and they got some people that are already set and cast in stone above you. Your ceiling is limited. And if that's why you want to come over, great. But you still got to follow our product, and you still got to follow our book. You still got to follow this book of instruction. But I get why you left, because you just wanted to get more money. And we do happen to have a bigger salary cap. So you got space. I'll gladly bring you on. Make sure you brush up on the way we do things, because we're not them. We don't do like they do. We don't do that. We do it this way. Same product they're producing. We produce the product, but this is our version of it, and we do it this way. All right? That's the easy one. It's the one where they come to you, and it ain't about money. And if it is, it's because they're not following the instructions over there to be worthy of the promotion, because they keep cutting corners and they keep cheating and they keep getting caught cheating. But they are faithful, meaning they are not faithful. They are always there. They are always in the mix of something. They're always in the middle of something, mess and success. And so, you know, you never know what you're going to get one day or the other. But they won't take time to study and read the manual and read the new certifications and get recertified in these areas we've asked you to do it for. If you are one of those people, I really can't afford you to come over here, because we follow a strict regimen here. We take all the new certification classes. We keep up with every new edict change. We don't change the edict. The edict gets changed from the creator. And the edict change is really not changing. It's just an opening of another caveat once we get to a certain phase in life and having become familiar with this particular genre of that. And now he opens up another door for us to walk through. Oh, I didn't know this was back here. So we constantly follow the edict. You want to come over here and you haven't followed the edict over there, you're not going to change that nature because you came over here. And then you came over here talking about how bad the supervisor was. And every time I try to go ahead, and then you claim racism, then you claim sexism, then you claim classism, then you claim, so everything you got is an excuse. And now you're telling me how they was, mean to you or upset with you. And so we're like, okay, well, we're not here to be your counselors. You said you wanted employment. We're not here to be, and people don't understand this, even within ministry, we're not here to be your counselors. We're here to point you to the counselor. But if you're not going to follow the pathway that we point you to get to the counselor, then you're not going to get counseling, and you're slipping on the steps is your problem. And you think that it is the responsibility of the place you came to do the counseling. We point you to the counselor. And if you're not going to follow the instructions to get to him, and if you come into a session and you're saying, I got this, that, and the other, okay, great. Let's get this straight for you right here. And whatever language you're talking, we have to match you at that language, because that's the only language you understand. Even though we're trying to elevate you from maybe a lesser communicative way, we'll get down to where you are. And if we can communicate with you at your level of communication, then we'll do that for the sake of communicating and educating and elevating and saying, okay, we want to say less words. I got a friend of mine who always says, at first, they used to say it because they didn't understand that I got to reach many more audiences than they do. They primarily deal with people who want specifically what they provide. My world is a little bit differently. I got to reach a whole different group of educated, non-educated, subject-driven, non-subject-driven people. And then Joe's just wandering around trying to get information about faith, God, and everything like that, right? But theirs is sort of kind of a genre usually when they communicate. But the point was, they would say, well, you use too many words to make a point. And I had to say, you're right, because I never know right off rip until I've read the room accurately who I can talk to like that. And in all of my rooms, I have someone of every genre of dialect, of every genre of education, and I have to make it middle of the road. And it may frustrate the elite vocabularies, and it may also frustrate the less elite vocabularies. It may frustrate the people middle of the road with articulation and understanding and definition. But at the end of the day, they would say, to me, you frustrate me at certain points because you say too many words to get to the point. I know where you're going, just get there. But for you, that might be frustrating. And if you can just give me 2 more minutes than you would usually give, though you're here for the same reason the other person I'm trying to reach is here, let me bring them up to speed. It's going to take me another 45, 50 seconds and a couple more words. But just sit there and rest since you're at the head of the class. Just sit there for a second. We're going to catch up. Well, by that time, I'm already on something else, and now you ain't got my attention no more. Well, then you're not here for that purpose. Facts. But this particular person was like, you say too many words, and talking with them and sitting down with them and chatting with them, like, you may be right, but consider what I also have to address. And then after time and time and time of seeing it, now I get it. I get it now. I think they went through something where they had to talk or somewhere, and they realized that the things that they would usually use in this genre wasn't connecting. And then they had to extend words, break words down redundantly. And they're like, I get it. So that's a big, 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 big thing. So people be very conscious. Be very conscious that you are obedient to the writ if you say you are a kingdom of Elohim citizen. What's that mean? You don't backstab your brother. You don't gossip on your sister. You don't judge. That's the edict. You don't tell that. You don't spread rumor and hearsay. You don't lie. You don't not get your ought addressed. You were part of the organization. You took an interview to come in. If you're a part of an organization, This organization, we require an interview for you to leave. The way a thing begins is the way a thing should end. So if you came in under an interview, then you should leave under an interview. If you came in introducing yourself, you should leave giving your salutations. So if you came in, you knocked on the door. Hi, my name is such and so. I smell the aroma outside. I see the light gleaming from here. I hear the music vibrating in the neighborhood. It seems like a safe place. Everybody comes out of here is happy. Everybody comes out of here is vibrant. Cars look like they got gas. Everything looks polished and shine. I want to hang out here. Sure, come on in. Great, good introduction. Now you're in. But now to say once you've picked up responsibilities and then just never show back up, that ain't kingdom. That's Pettyville. The kingdom of Elohim and Pettyville do not connect. Pettyville is down there past church on 3rd Street, the temple on 6th Street, and the mosque on the citizen, the not mosque, the storefront on 8th. That's Pettyville. Kingdom is Commonwealth. And we follow the writ. The citizens of the kingdom obey the writ. We don't make it up as we go. We don't always hit the mark either. But we don't make it up as we go. And even if it hurts us, a real kingdom citizen that will hear him say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," they're going to have to eat that one. Hey, I messed up. Or, hey, yeah, I got to do better. But I'm not trying to change it and justify the writ. Kingdom responsibility for the kingdom of Elohim is obedience to the word of Elohim. And when you start mixing all your church experiences or your previous organization or your previous jobs experiences in with a new place, then you disrespect the place you said you want to join until you find that your experiences are similar and cause you to be, or caused until you find that your previous experiences have a place in your new place that triggered their remembrance, but you're not going into the new place with your old experiences in the forefront of your mind. You're going in the new place with your previous experiences cached in the back, learning the new. And when you're learning the new, it will trigger, oh, I did something like that in another. And now your cache, your Rolodex starts to find where you did something like this at before. And then you bring that up and you measure it to these new instructions. Like, oh, we did do something like that. So I'm familiar with this. I'm a little bit more comfortable now, but we didn't do that they're saying. So I got to do it this way, not that way. People don't think like this, and we don't feel we have to. And that's where we are petty. And we're not responsible. And then we start espousing a whole bunch of negativity that is dividing, devouring, and absolutely not kingdom. So you leave a kingdom post ranting and raving. And as you're leaving out under dark of shadow and cloud and whatever, running into people coming into their post. Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know this? I'm on my way to work. I'm on my way to my post. And you need to know this and all of that. That's not it. And you're ranting and raving and you're going to another place you think is kingdom, but you can't even keep order in any place you've been. And until you change that, no matter where you go, do what you feel your convictions are. But if you have convictions and you join a team with that conviction and you can't comply with instructions, you'll be the least in that kingdom too. Kingdom citizens of Elohim's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, the responsibility is obedience to the writ at all costs. That's how you live, and that's how we create a commonwealth. So be careful when people come at you after they left, your organization and your place. I get a lot of people like, well, they did this and they did that. I don't need to hear none of that. I'm sorry. Why are you not there no more? Did you follow the instructions of the kingdom of Elohim? Did you forget you wasn't wrestling against flesh and blood? Did you tell this story to 8 other people already? What made you feel comfortable coming to tell it to me? Oh, so now I won't listen to it. So you think I'm wrong. You know what? You have a good day. Bye-bye. It's different, don't it? When you think about it. Kingdom responsibility. Kingdom responsibility is that we first comply with Elohim's instructions. No matter what your experiences have been, make sure you filter everything through his word. That's how you know you're a true kingdom citizen and not a visitor, not a frequent flyer. Everybody has the ability to be a citizen. Very few people have a desire to complete the responsibilities. We talk about it, but we dare be about it. My name is Apostle V.W. Jones. I am sitting on my butt, but my feet are 10 toes down under me and under my desk. And I want us so desperately to remember to live in his kingdom. You must obey his will. No matter what the negative experience, no matter what the positive experience, it must be a consistency about complying with his writ. And the moment you or I deviate from it, we're not operating in his kingdom. You're not once saved, always saved. And you can't get back into the kingdom harboring, holding, and never repenting for violation of kingdom concept and principles. People think that because you're back up on the porch, you're back in the house. You're not. When that day comes and he says, what did you do with my word? What did you do with my son? So you knew my word said to do this, but you let your feelings cause you to do that. So technically, you worked iniquity. Depart from me, you worker of iniquity. That phrase is not for the sinner man. That phrase is for them who are Bible holders, church goers. Working iniquity and living in Pettyville are much more present than kingdom citizens walking and making tracks on this earth. Kingdom citizenship has responsibility and it's obedience. Yahweh, I thank you for your word, your will, your plan. I thank you for the opportunity to share these things with your people. I pray that you have given us an opportunity to do and be where you want us to be for your name's sake, your praise and your glory. Anything that I've spoken that's outside the context of your word, I ask you to strike from the record of your hearer. But all things that are pertinent to your righteous kingdom, I pray you saturate their hearts, my heart, our minds, with how we are to operate in you. Many of us are students just wanting you, so please let the teacher of you arise. We beg you. Students are ready. You said the teacher would appear. Ruach HaKodesh, guide us. Adonai, teach us. Yahweh, prepare us. We pray. Man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of you, your mouth, Yahweh, our Elohim. And we shall bless you forevermore. In the precious and the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Well, Zion, I want you to remember, we don't do this for likes. We do what we do and we teach what we teach so that you and I can have kingdom life. Enjoy your Sabbaths.
Truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.